Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Breakfast with Bobby. I am your co-host, Kristina Bloom, and I am here with one of my very good friends and my co-host, Bobby Clubino. And we have absolutely no plan, none, zero, zip,
We're,
zilch, no plan
we're
whatsoever for this podcast.
yeah, well, first I should say good morning. That can, seems like the right thing to say.
It does.
And yeah, you're right. We're just gonna go with whatever comes up, which we do a lot, except we do sometimes have a subject matter, and today we just don't. Other than I thought it might be fun, since this is our 10th show, I thought that perhaps we could review who we've all had on and what we thought of that, and um, of course, be tactful about it and or not. Nah,
Yeah.
no.
I think it's actually our 11th show. I think the show with Glenn Bottis was our 10th show,
Cool.
I think.
Good.
Yeah. So we've
I
had 10 shows.
I thought he was a blast to deal
Oh,
with.
I did too. He was so much fun.
He's he has an interesting background and an interesting outlook on life, and uh, I hope that everything went well with the discussion. Apparently I talked about the C word and shouldn't have, and it seemed to be okay. I
Yeah,
don't,
we didn't
you know,
get flagged.
good.
Yeah.
Well, that's promising.
It's
Look at me.
promising. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Mm,
Yeah, we did not get flagged on that. So,
excellent.
yeah,
Uh, the other guest I thought was, well, two of them, actually all of them. I can't
yeah.
really pick one out that I liked the best. They were all really uh, interesting. They
Hmm.
were educational. They were um, just fun in their own right. Uh, I really delighted. I like the idea that I really don't know what we're going to talk about. And I also like the idea that um, I have not met many of the guests, with exception, of course, to Bob Greenfield, who I've known for, I don't want to say 100 years because that's really boring, but I want to say probably 40, 30 or 40, something
Well,
like
and
that.
you've met Marcus.
I have. I know Marcus on a different level. He's,
Hmm.
like I said, my teacher. We're not really, you know, friends like you and I are friends,
Right.
although he's really very easy to talk to.
Hmm.
He is also just a breath of knowledge in whatever situation you want to know about. And like I said, I only asked one question, and I probably looked pretty dopey on that whole podcast because I said one thing.
It's okay.
Which,
And it's okay because we were both learning a lot. He was talking and sharing a lot of his experience and wisdom and what he's learned over the years, and we were both learning a lot.
yeah, I particularly was engaged in just observing the two of you that have never met and exchanging stories of how your lives were and how that all came together. And it seems like they're with shamans and natural, intuitive people that didn't have to really work on it. And I am one of those. I had to work on it. Um, there seems to be a common thread in there that the story of how you found out about that, and Glenn mentioned it too, uh, how it accidentally comes. I mean, you've had it for such a long time that you didn't know you had it, and you thought everybody else probably had it too.
I did.
Um,
Yeah.
and
I was surprised to find out when other people didn't have it.
I'm sure, yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, what do you? I thought everybody did that.
Right.
I came by my training rather interestingly. I was always interested in. I always like to know things ahead of time. Um, so that being said, when I learned that there were other skills out there that I could tap into or learn, uh, by way, and back in the day, when I was young, you didn't talk about that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
And it was just kind of weird, and they lock you up. Like both of you said, you thought someone was going to think you were a nut. Um, but I actually had a friend that took Reiki, and I had absolutely no interest in doing it ever. I did not think that that would be something I would even be good at. And when that person did some Reiki training, was telling me how wonderful it was and what happened, and I thought, well, darn it all, no, I want to do that. And so then I met you and we went on our way about being trained. Um, so over time, I have taken different classes, and perhaps maybe it's because uh, I, my entire life pretty much has been in the medical field.
Hmm.
A few times when I've dabbled outside of that, it didn't go well. So I just kind of stuck into that. But the medical field itself is very pretty much black and white. It's science-based. You don't veer off the path. Um, I once asked the physician that I was working with, someone came to interview and was mentioning a Native American study that they were doing. And of course, the doctor said, we can't do any of that. I cannot endorse any of that. And so off the record, when they left, I said, so do you, off the record, do you believe in that? And he said, off the record, yes. He said, but scientifically, I can't tell other people that that's what we do. So it all has to be, dotted and stamped by the science books.
You
So
know what's, can I just share, just interrupt real
yeah.
quickly?
Hmm.
Recently, in the last few years, I have talked to more doctors, more nurse practitioners, more PAs about, they're now endorsing things like meditation. They're now
Yeah,
bringing Reiki into hospitals and clinics. So we're making some progress here.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yep. I wished for that the entire time that the 20 years that I spent in the medical field, just at one place. But again, you try to talk about it and they will listen to you very acutely and then probably, go off in their merry way. And what you did was you just planted a seed so they could grow that, on their own,
Hmm.
time. I also have a good friend that I recommended go to some training. And of course, and that it was a physician, and the the comment was, "Ugh, I don't have time for that stuff," kind of thing. Well,
Hmm.
because someone else mentioned it, then that person went to the training. And now it's a thing, now it's a what do you know and how do you do this and all that kind of stuff. So it's interesting how the seed gets planted. It's interesting to see what people do with it. And
Hmm.
it's also, I watch to see, of course, I really don't think that I have enough background, but I think about that. That's my topic for my life. I don't think I ever have enough information. I think I need more training. I think it, and, I have a laundry list of certifications and this, that, and the other thing, but maybe it's because I'm one of those people that just wants to learn stuff and there's always something to learn and there's always something to do with what you learned.
Hmm.
And when you wake up in the morning and think, woe is me, uh, what I try to do is this is a great day and look at all the stuff that I have options to do. We're certainly not, in another country where we're so restricted. And that in and of itself is something that I look forward to every day to branch out and learn what I can. But again, there's always stuff that when I see people and I hear them talk, it's like, geez, I didn't know that. And where did they learn that from? And so then I search that out to see if I can find other information.
Hmm. It's interesting because you said that you always want to know things ahead of time. Like you want to know what's going to happen.
I do.
You want to know that.
I do.
And I know I bring this stuff up all the time, and it applies to me too. That's a trauma response. It keeps
Uh,
us safe if we know what's going to happen, which is
yeah.
why, and I feel like a lot of people have that trauma response. We feel safer if we know what's going to happen. But here's the thing, the world is upside down, backwards, spinning in all directions. None of us know what's going to happen. And that is scary for a lot of people, which is why we have so much anxiety on the planet right now.
I try not to talk about religion and politics, but in this particular, I'm going to
Go
go
ahead, jump off the ledge, go.
because I went to Catholic school,
Uh-huh.
1 through 8th grade. And, in the Bible, or they at least tell you that you should not be dabbling in that kind of stuff. That's against their religion, that or the Catholic religion does not
Hmm.
allow you to putz around with those things. Um, s- Despite the fact that they said that, I still did it.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
I,
Because that's your personality. That's what you do. I love that about you. I do the same thing. Tell me I can't do something and then watch me do it 3 times and get better every time.
right. Well, and you look
Every
both
time.
ways. It's somebody looking, and then you duck a little bit and you go, I think it's okay. I'm going to do it anyway.
I never looked both ways. I just jumped. Like I don't even, it's like even when I cared what people thought, it didn't occur to me to bother to see if they were watching.
I hate being watched. And and here you are.
And here you are. I know it took me a year to get you here.
Yeah. Talk about a trauma response. Yeah.
Right?
Mm.
But you faced it and here you are. And people are loving it.
From what I can tell,
Yeah.
I do ask people periodically. It's what they're not saying that is always the thing that makes me leery.
Hmm.
Uh, One of my kids, my oldest son, is very honest, and he always tells me what he thinks about stuff. It's always what he's not saying that is like, well, today he's being very polite and not saying anything. So,
I got a lot happier in my life when I quit looking for what people weren't saying
or listen to what they are saying. I'm
or
getting
listen
better at
and
that.
listen to what they are saying.
Yeah,
And
I
if somebody doesn't like what we do, this is a very simple solution for that. Don't
yeah, they don't
watch.
have to listen. Right, right.
Very simple solution. You don't like it, go somewhere else.
That's right.
It, you know, we all have that option. If we don't like what's in front of us, we can do something about it. So,
Yeah, I think once we stop caring about what other people are saying and about us,
hmm,
which, there's an old saying about that. It's none of your business what other people think.
yeah.
If we were able to let go of what other people think and be authentically ourselves, imagine the success we would have without letting someone else's thoughts about what we're doing uh, corral and govern our success now.
Hmm. I feel like I have worked really hard to get there, and I feel like for most part, I'm there. I'm there.
I think you are.
Again, people ask me what I do, and every once in a while I get someone who says, "Oh, I don't believe in that." My response is to ask them what they do.
That's right.
And if I get accountant or lawyer or something that, never registered in my head, I say, well, I don't believe in that either. So we're even.
Yeah, especially that accounting thing.
Yeah,
I,
it's just numbers. But
I
the thing that gets me though is like, why should I care if some random person doesn't believe in what I do? What difference does it make? It makes no difference to my life on a daily basis
yeah.
whatsoever. You don't like what
Some
I do? Don't watch me do it.
right.
you
Go do your
know?
own stuff. You have a lot of time on your hand if you're so busy judging me and doing what you're doing and
Exactly.
anyway, not
Thank
paying
you.
attention to you. Someone once said, what do you care what other people think? Would you let them do you think that they would die for you? And I said, well, absolutely not. I said, well, why do you let them live for you?
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
Uh,
And I've heard a similar thing from other directions too. Like, are these people paying your bills?
mm,
Nope. Don't worry about it. you know,
yeah.
I just have gotten to the point where I don't let random opinions about what people think I do, and most of the time they're misinformed anyway about what it is that I do. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. If you don't want a reading, don't get one.
I don't believe in that crap anyway.
Yeah, well, that's your problem, not mine.
Oth- Other than the prediction that we were going to have this podcast some
Yeah, that was the power of planting a seed on my part.
ah, some seeds take longer to germinate than others.
And that's okay.
Right.
It took me a year after someone planted a seed to get me on camera
Yeah.
doing something like this with a radio show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Some
uh, I can't help it because I'm a bit of a gardener. And you know that wonderful, beautiful spring flower? It
Hmm.
is common in the north. It's common around here, really. It belongs in the woods, but it only comes up in the spring. And they're called trillium, the three-petaled white flower.
Yes.
You
I
see
think
them on
they're
the roadsides,
beautiful.
way
Yeah.
up north. That seed, by the way, takes 7 years to germinate.
Wow.
So if you plant one of those bulbs and you think it's going to come up next year, probably won't.
Yeah. Like you said, some seeds take longer to germinate.
Yeah. They sure are
And
pretty.
yeah,
Yeah,
they are. And when we reach the point where whatever seed was planted in us, it's beautiful too
I
when
agree.
it blooms, you know? So
Yes.
it's all good. It's all good.
I think it would be great if more people would, and I work on this all the time, believe in themselves, believe in their talents, believe in the power of positive thinking,
Hmm.
um, which is a huge thing. Oh my God, to be grateful every day, write down 3 things you're grateful for. I guarantee you that tomorrow when you get up, that the day will look much different and much better, and you will do it again and again and again, and your days will get better.
Absolutely.
And the downtime, the down attitude of that, there will be less of it. And even when you run into something that is not so positive, you are able to get over the hurdle quicker because on the other side, you had so many other positive things happen.
Right. Right. And I mean, and I am going to expand on that, and I'm going to bring Logan into it because with his passing last year, if
Mhm.
I had not done all of the inner work that I had done to heal, to allow myself the freedom to be who I am and to grow and to get stronger in myself and to get stronger in my spirit, I might not have fared that as well as I did.
I
You
agree.
know, it's and I know we talk about inner work, we talk about shadow work, we did in one episode go into detail on that. I just don't remember which episode it was, so I don't know where to refer people. But we did
Yeah.
go into that. I remember talking about that. And the bottom line is life is going to happen. Tires are going to go flat. People are going to pass away. You know, friendships are going to blow up. Relationships are going to end. Life happens, right? If you don't have a strong sense of yourself and you don't have a strong sense of how you're going to get through something, and even little things, I mean, of course, you practice on little things, right? So
Yeah.
when the big things come along, if you have that strength and you've built some solid relationships to help you get through, none of us get through this alone.
Right.
I've said it before. We aren't solitary creatures. If we were, there wouldn't be 8 billion of us. We're not meant to be solitary creatures. And not that I don't appreciate my alone time. I do. I do
Yeah.
appreciate my alone time. And that's where a lot of the strength came from, was the alone time and the meditating and the journaling and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But really taking those seeds that have been planted in us, either by ourselves or other people, and growing those seeds gives us strength when we really need it.
Mhm.
And the roots that we connect with other people through those seeds really helps us get through the hard times.
So I've seen a lot of death in my life. I lost both of my parents and I lost 3 siblings. And lo and behold, when a person dies, there's all these things that happen, not only within the first 3 or 4 days of
Right.
just passing away. Some crazy, crazy stuff happens right after they die. Um,
Hmm.
in addition to that, it's like that death sort of made way for something else and someone else to come in.
Hmm.
The entire stream of things, the vibration of it all really shifts. Like you
Yeah.
would not be on a couple of the podcasts and whatever, you would not be doing everything that you're doing now because if Logan were still here. Uh,
Why? Why
uh,
not?
well, I'm just because didn't you take over something of his?
No, I canceled the show we were both on.
Okay.
We had a
Okay.
show together and I canceled that show because
Hmm.
I created that show for him.
Ah, I see. So perhaps I've misspoke in your direction, but
Yeah.
what I've observed, for instance, a couple of relatives I have, seemingly their life has completely shifted in a different direction that perhaps if their mom was still alive,
Hmm.
that would likely have not happened.
Okay.
They would not have maybe married the same person that they married, or, you know, a younger person, and I'm saying this in my own, from my own lifetime. When my mother died at 11, it was, things were okay until my dad remarried, and
Hmm.
then everything shifted. And then that's when all the trauma started. We were so off balance, and all the kids left the house, and I was the only one left with my younger sister, and just trying to navigate all of that. But again, had my mother still lived, I would not have had to go through a lot of that. Yes, I understand the lessons and the pathways and, the contracts that you signed and, whatever up in heaven before you got here.
Hmm.
But I'm saying that when people die, there is a huge void, and whatever comes in to fill that void is very interesting. But
Yeah.
without their death, that would not have happened.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Uh,
Um, well, and the thing with Logan was an adult when he passed. He wasn't a kid,
yes.
so he wasn't living with me. So it didn't affect my immediate living situation,
Hmm.
except that all his stuff ended up at my house, and we're still dealing with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I don't know. I don't feel like I mean, yours was a different situation. You were very young. You were a child. Your dad remarried. He chose to bring someone into your life. You
Yeah.
didn't choose that person, so that was
Right.
out of your control. But I feel like I don't feel like he has. I don't want to say been replaced because that's not what you were referring to necessarily. But I
Right.
don't feel like anyone has stepped in to take his place at this point, and I don't know that anyone could.
No, why would you want that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I am in touch with some of his friends,
Hmm.
um, but it's not obviously not the same.
Right. And I think sometimes after the death, you mentioned that you still have friendships and stuff. Sometimes those friendships deepen.
Yeah,
Uh, Sometimes it turns into a lifelong friendship that is so deep that you would never have imagined that in any other situation. But
right.
because of that, it has grown.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um,
It is interesting, the coming and going and death being a part of life. And I say that because that's the way we understand it from I'm going to say belief system, I guess. There is
yeah.
no death.
Mm, right. You just go to a different place.
You just, well, yeah, I mean, you exist in a different way. You go to a different place. Logan can come and go as he wants to. He still comes and talks to me.
Hmm.
Same with my other child's father. He
Hmm.
comes and talks to me when he wants to. It's okay. And for me, I guess because I have the abilities that I have, it's not like I don't miss him. It's just a different way to have a relationship.
Yes. Yeah, it's certainly not like you can talk to them like you and I are talking, where
Right.
you can see and all of that kind of stuff. But occasionally, my sister was incredibly close to me, and I still, of course, mourn that, and especially around the holidays and stuff now. Uh, we used to make a cake around Easter time, a white cake or a yellow cake or whatever, and then it was a double layer, and then we would cut apart part the other round cake and make a bow tie out of it and make ears, so it turned into a rabbit, and we
Mhm.
frosted it a certain way and stuff. So and after she passed away, all of the holidays, were just misplaced. Nobody knew who was going to have it, and who was going to be invited and how long, and it just sort of dissipates over time, and you
Right.
create your own tradition and with your kids or your other family members or whatever. It's just never the same.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's not a horrible thing, and now it's not a horrible thing. Her kids have gone on to have their own traditions with their families and,
Mhm.
have moved Easter further away in, rather than the house that they grew up on. Um, but there's still something, the memory of that makes me do certain things and honor part of that tradition uh, around Easter time and even around Christmas time. So there is a positive light to that. And I think we just need to keep our relatives' memories alive
Mhm.
somehow so that you celebrate that. And that was just something that was so deep for me. I had been doing that since I was a little kid. She
Mhm.
she took care of me after my parents died, and she took care of my younger sister. And so those kind of things become very ingrained in your memory,
They do.
delightfully so.
They do. Yeah, I know after my grandparents passed, especially my grandmother, because she was kind of the hub.
Mhm.
There weren't more family holidays at their house, even with my grandfather still being alive, but he had Alzheimer's.
Mm.
So, there was no way that he was going to be able to do that. And I don't
Right.
think he could have done it before he had Alzheimer's either, because she was very elaborate. and, and I don't think he would be like, yeah, food's on the stove, help yourself.
Here's a spoon.
Here's a spoon, help yourself.
Right.
But yeah, that was really probably the biggest shift for me in that way was when my grandmother passed.
Mhm.
And I think I was 21, 22 when she passed. So, and she was just, I mean, like I was her person. She was my person.
Oh,
And so that shifted a lot for me
yeah.
after she passed, um, which also kind of threw me into a caregiving role for my grandfather because she
Mm.
didn't tell anybody.
Mm. That's hard.
We walked into it cold, like we had no idea she had been covering up for him. So
Gosh.
that was a huge shift
Yeah.
because we all of a sudden had not only lost her, but found out that we were also slowly losing him.
Mm.
And so it was, yeah, that was a big shift. And that's really the only death that I can think of that shifted my life that much.
Mhm. I would imagine too that was several years ago, so
Yeah,
Alzheimer's was probably not as well known and popular as it is today to know how to
hmm,
care for those people.
right.
And I'm sure that was what they would call a rude awakening,
Oh
when you
yeah,
walked in and saw your grandpa that way.
yeah,
And you
yeah.
get really good at things quickly when you have to.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah,
So,
it was a very strange time.
well, on that same note, and I think after this we should probably change the subject because I'm just enough about the death
We
thing.
want to brighten it up a little.
Yeah, right. The most interesting thing that I experienced, and I'm sure the only way that I could do this and look at it this way is because I was in the medical field for so many years.
Hmm.
I also had doctors telling me approximately what was likely to happen, and it happened.
Hmm.
All three of my siblings passed away from the same diagnosis, that they all had metastatic lung cancer, and it manifested itself in their body differently. So one had a tumor in the middle of the chest. One of them, my brother had his kidneys were affected. My other brother had it just spread throughout his entire body. So watching all of that I was able to stand back and say, this is very interesting.
Hmm.
And so at that point in time, it kind of became clinical for me rather than emotional. Um, Other than that, I guess that's the only thing I was gonna talk about,
Yeah,
just how different death is for everyone.
yeah, it is. And it's a transition,
Yeah.
it really is it's an energy transition. And where we miss people in the physical form, we need, I think, at least for me, it helps to understand we're all in temporary physical forms.
Yes.
I'm in a temporary physical form. I'm not always going to be in this form. So, it, and again, because I'm a psychic medium and I can communicate with them, it does make it easier for me, I think, than it does for a lot of people.
Yeah. I also just was doing some studying uh, and it was about death and dying. And the message was that when you are with loved ones that are dying, you should offer them up permission to go, because otherwise sometimes they feel like they need to stay.
Mhm.
It's easier for them to pass over peacefully if you allow them, you tell them that you have everything under control and it's okay for them to go and we'll take care of the rest of it. And that being said, the funniest thing I think out of all of that, my sister was at the end, she was intubated, and my niece and nephew were in the room with her, and I was standing at the foot of the bed, and they were talking to her. They were telling her, the last kind of things that they wanted to say to her, saying goodbye, because the doctor was coming in to remove the tube. And my nephew, I'll never forget that. My nephew had a thing about housework. And so he just said, Mom, it's okay. It's okay to go. Jenny and I'll take care of everything. It's all right. And he stopped there for a second. He goes, except doing the dishes. I'm not doing the dishes. Out of the corner,
You could see the smile on the
I could
corner of
see
her
the
mouth.
smile on her face. And there you have it.
And there you have it.
Death
Yep.
and dying. And,
Yeah.
sort of apropos on this Easter area time frame here. So,
Yeah. Interesting. That's so funny. I haven't celebrated Easter in years, ever. I mean, like
oh,
when we were kids, but it's not something I celebrate. I'm not part of that religion anymore. So
hmm.
I just, it's just not part of it. I celebrate more the seasons. So
Okay.
Easter coming from the word ostera,
Yeah.
um, which is, that's where all the bunnies and the eggs come from, people. It's
Yes.
about spring and rebirth and fertilization and all of that.
Hmm.
Um, and I have a few times like colored eggs with my kids and stuff, but it never made sense to them because they weren't raised with it.
Hmm.
So they're like, why are we doing this? I'm like, for fun. Okay, but mom, I'm not having fun. Okay, we won't do it anymore then, because I was doing this to like share something with you, but if you don't want to do it, I'm
Yeah.
good with it. You know, it's, yeah,
And that's how things get to be because other people said so.
yeah.
Because other people were coloring eggs, you did it too.
And I
Yeah.
actually enjoyed coloring eggs because I
Hmm.
like playing with the colors and doing like half and half. And you take a white crayon and you write on the egg and then you color it. Well, where you have the crayon, there's no color, so you can see what you wrote. And,
Yes.
so I mean, I enjoyed that as kind of an arts and crafts thing.
Yeah.
But as far as, I mean, even when I was a little kid going to church, what do eggs have to do with rising from the grave? I don't understand the connection. But as I got older and did some research, I understood the connection. It's a stolen holiday, right?
Sure.
So
Right.
it's, yeah, the
Yeah.
spring equinox.
Yeah. I wondered how you celebrated that. And I'm just kind of a product of, the Catholic religion because that's how I grew up. Not
Hmm.
necessarily that I liked it, but just because it was.
I actually don't celebrate it. I, for the most part, I have been working on Easter weekend because other people who don't celebrate it are looking for something to do,
Mm,
so,
okay.
I have done psychic fairs, I've done retreats, whatever. I did have one scheduled for this Easter, but I canceled it because I didn't have enough vendors. That's the
Mm,
bottom line. I did not have enough vendors
yeah.
for the amount of advertising I did, so I had to backtrack. But you know what? Maybe that's just my guides telling me I wasn't supposed to do that event, or at
Well,
least not now,
right.
you know, and,
And
and taking me in a different direction. Maybe I'm not supposed to be hosting events like that.
uh, I
Maybe
guess
that's
if
it.
you try to plan one again and it doesn't work out, then I would say so. But after the first one, I think you need to give it a go again. And like you said, maybe it is because of Easter, because nobody's
Hmm.
around. They all have family stuff. And,
Maybe.
back in the day, for us, for me, for my family, all that kind of stuff, it was never really about, I mean, sometimes it was about cooking. And the amazing thing about cooking is that you spend days doing it,
Yeah.
and then within 15 minutes after you sit down to dinner, it's all over with.
And
And
then you have to clean it up.
now you got to clean it up, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And the inside of that yolk from that egg, it turns kind of green. And
it
so
does.
that's not really appealing.
Yeah,
Not for me,
yeah, same.
other than that. So, a couple of the shows that we did, I thought they all came out really well. Surprisingly well, I thought. And they all did something different.
Hmm.
They all had a different message, and they all were equally wonderful at what they did.
Yeah. And not just the guests, the shows that we did before that, before we started bringing on guests. I've had people tell me, I love listening to your show while I'm doing the dishes or, doing something else. Someone told me this weekend she listens to our show when she's driving. She downloads it and then listens to it when she's driving.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Wow.
And she drives a lot. Like she's a merchandiser. So she
Hmm.
goes from store to store to store doing merchandise.
Hmm.
And so she listens while she's at work driving.
Well, that's fun. Who
Yeah.
knew? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm grateful for all of you who are listening. And if you want to share it with other people, subscribe, hit the little subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notifications, and then share it, please.
Some of
Yeah.
these episodes have some interesting information in it, and it applies to, maybe it applies to one friend and not the other. And then maybe there's
Hmm.
another episode that applies to someone and not someone else.
Yeah. And I have found that to be true of all podcasts. Even podcasts that have a specific genre that they go to, like we don't. We have a coffee clutch genre. That's our
Right.
genre.
We are the genre. It's
We
new.
are the
It's a new thing.
genre, yeah. Um, but even those, like all the stories are different and all of the shows are a little different and some of them appeal and some don't,
Hmm.
so it's all good.
I suppose one of these days I will go through the comments. I did have a friend that replied about the friendship one, and I will post that. So if you guys want to comment about anything, we can certainly post that on our Facebook page for other people to read.
Right. We have a private group, by the way. So if you want to read those comments, you have to join the Facebook group, Breakfast with Bobby podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
And give us some ideas on what you want to hear about.
Hmm.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I know this is a a little flippant, but it's the way I am. If we don't know the answer, we're just going to make it up.
Or
It'll be
look it up, maybe.
what? I got to do homework? Oh,
Maybe we'll look it up.
maybe not. Yeah. Anyway,
Oh my gosh. What? Homework? No.
I thought I was done with that.
No. As long as you're alive, you better be doing some homework because there's a lot to learn.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I learned something every day. Uh, Other than
I,
that, I think that we've done a pretty good job here today, and
mhm.
just a really casual conversation. We haven't done one of these in a while, so we thought it would just be fun to do one again.
Yeah.
Uh,
And speaking of casual conversations, I'm gonna go girly on you. I like your new hair color.
I'll be, uh, you know, I'm always at the mercy of the girl in the salon, my hair person, whoever does it. And a lot of times I just say, I just color it. I don't care.
Hmm.
Sometimes it comes out lighter, sometimes not, and sometimes it's, oh my God, is that dark? Um,
This time you got a ginger thing going on. Got a little
well,
red there.
I tried to match, the woodwork in my office.
And you
Did I?
did very well. Yeah, you matched
Well,
the woodwork in your office.
I have to put that on my resume.
See, now I can just say my hair is getting a lot closer to matching the color of my wall.
I have to admit, if I didn't go get my hair done, it would be exactly like that wall.
There's nothing wrong with white.
Oh,
This is just wisdom highlights. That's the way I look at it. It's just
yeah.
wisdom highlights. Although you guys can't tell because I have the headset on. But if I took it off, you would see that my hair is having an early 90s revival today. It just did what it wanted to do.
Sometimes you get out of bed and you got to just go with it because you
Yeah.
can't do anything else.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah,
got out of the
other people.
shower this morning. I left the towel on too long on my hair, I think. And it just kind of went boing. So,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know,
sometimes it's curly, sometimes not so much. And sometimes it's just flat frizzy. I don't know.
same.
Yeah.
Today we're
It just,
going with frizzy. Even with the conditioner, we're going with frizzy today.
mm,
But it's really humid today, so maybe that has something to
is
do
it?
with it.
Oh,
Yeah, we're raining today. I don't know about you, but we got rain today.
well, we're only about 30 miles apart. And are we that far away? 20
20
miles apart?
miles? Yeah, we're about 20 miles apart, but we don't always have the same
Well, you're
weather
closer to the
system.
lake.
Yeah,
You have that lake thing going on.
yeah.
I have the country tree thing over here.
But I remember, like, I don't know when it was, sometime this winter, where you had like twice the amount of snow we did,
Yeah.
and you're like 20 miles from me.
How
So,
did you do over the weekend when we had this snow? How much snow did you get over this weekend?
well, I was in northern Wisconsin, that is
Oh, that's
gotten
right.
hammered.
Yeah.
But it got it hammered starting yesterday on Sunday. So
Mm,
I got up and left early in the morning, and I was driving in wind and snow,
mm,
but only about halfway.
mm.
And then I got out of the storm system, and then it was fine. Then I went and had a late afternoon meeting with someone at a restaurant, and it was like it is now, just kind of drizzly and gray when I got there. And an
Yeah.
hour and a half later, we had driving snow.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just know that sometime between now and the 4th of July, we're going to have hot weather.
Oh, I'm sure we will. And it's going to hit overnight and make all of us go, why did I ask for this?
Right. And then my hair is going to stand out here and it'll be a
Hmm.
fun day.
We're going to have the Rosanna Dana look going on,
Right.
both of us.
You plug that into the switchboard, right? That's how you grow your
Yeah,
hair.
that's what you did. Okay, for you younger viewers, look up Saturday Night Live classics. Okay.
Yeah. That's where all the good stuff happened.
Oh my gosh, yeah, Gilda Radner. Love that
Yeah,
woman.
God rest her soul. She was so good.
Yeah,
Gosh.
she was so funny. I really
Oh,
enjoyed watching her. Like, I mean, I was babysitting in the late 70s and into the 80s, other people's kids. So I had nothing to do after I put the kids to bed. So it was usually a Saturday night. So I was watching Saturday Night Live and
yeah.
all of the old greats with the cone heads and, the uh, the little girl in the big rocking chair.
Oh, yes. What was her name?
I can't even remember the
I don't know
actress's name,
why.
but I guess Lily
Well, that's Lily Tomlin doing that.
Tomlin. Yes,
Was
Lily
it?
Tomlin.
Oh, darn it all. I don't know
Yeah,
why I
what
want to
was that
say Ruth,
character's name?
but that
It could
might
have
not.
been Ruth. I don't remember.
Oh, I loved her. Oh
I
my God.
know. She would sit in the big chair and she would talk like this. And she would be rocking back and forth, talking about her day. And it was Lily Tomlin playing like a 4-year-old child in this giant rocking chair. And it was always funny.
Yes. And that's the truth.
And that's the truth. Yes.
That's right. Not that we know what happened there. We
No.
saw it on a video because we certainly couldn't be this old.
No. No. Again, my hair is almost the color of my walls. I guess I have to claim it.
I'm I'm just plain dumb. You
Are
know,
you?
I sometimes I do that well.
Huh. Well, there you
Just
go. Not as
comes
good as, not as well as you think you do,
natural.
especially for people who know you and know you're smart. So, yeah.
Oh, I have so much to learn.
Oh, we all have so much to learn.
Mm,
If anybody claims to know it all, they are misinformed.
that's a scary thing, right?
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I
Yeah.
suppose we should probably wrap the show up because
We
it's almost
probably
time.
should. We're getting up on that time. So again, subscribe, ring the bell to get notifications, join our Facebook group. Breakfast with Bobby Podcast is the name of the group. And we do some fun stuff on there. I was thinking maybe when we reach like a certain number of members of that group, we should do a live on Facebook. What do you think?
Well, that might be fun.
Yeah, I think we're coming up on like 300 members. Maybe when we
Oh, yeah.
hit 500.
Okay,
What do you think?
fine.
Okay.
I'm
Your
and
game?
yeah, we can and people can join in and
Mm-hmm.
ask questions and
Yeah, we'll do a
might be
live on
fun.
our Facebook group when we hit 500 members. So invite your friends too.
And you
And
can't make up people, just saying.
no, you can't make up people. They have to be real people.
Maybe. I have
Well,
a I have a few fictitious people in my head, but
we'll bring them to the party.
they're at the party. They're part of
There.
the party.
I love it. Oh my goodness. All right, everybody. Thank you again for joining us on our all over the place discussion about everything. And we will see you again next time. Bye.
Absolutely.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.